all we're hearing is it's the worst draft trade ever. When it's because all the reports make it sound worse. They gave up 3 firsts for him. No, they gave up 2 firsts for him. They just swapped spots. In order to move from 12 to 3, they coughed up 2 firsts. And I think a third or something like that.
I'll get it.
And of course, the Dolphins, what makes it worse, the players that the Dolphins turn this into.
Yes, that makes it worse. That makes
so
it
they
worse.
choose Jalen Waddle with the pick because they remember they moved from 3 down to 12 and then from 12 up to 6 the Eagles flipped down, right, and then eventually moved up or something like that, right? They moved up to get Jalen Waddle, so they used some of the draft capital to go get Jalen Waddle. They used some of the draft capital to get Tyreek Hill and Bradley Chubb. I mean,
yes,
it makes it worse.
It makes it worse.
When the Dolphins use the draft capital to cash in, and then the Niners go and get Trey Lance, and Trey Lance winds up starting a grand total of 4 games for them. 4 games for them. It is a very low amount. How low is it?
How low is it?
Trey Lance started 2 fewer games for the 49ers than Trent Dilfer, Brian Hoyer did. Troy Smith started 6 games for them.
Brian Hoyer was on the 49ers?
Yes, he started 6 games for them.
What?
Trey Lance started 1 more game for the 49ers than Steve Stenstrom started for him. I mean, you compare him to Nick Mullins, and he's not even close. He's a factor of Nick Mullins. Nick started 16 games for him. He's a factor of C.J. Beathard, 12 games for him. You could do math. You could teach math. Divide Trey Lance into C.J. Beathard starts, and you come up with the number 3, which is the number that Steve Stenstrom started. Blaine Gabbert started 13 for this team. And then here's this stat. This is from NFL Network Research. Trey Lance is 8 games with the 49ers. 8 games. Fewest games played by a top 5 pick, quarterback or otherwise, with the team he made his debut with in the common draft era. Going back to 1985, which is far back as NFL Network Research could do, when I asked over the weekend. One team gives up 2 or more first-round picks for the rights to draft a quarterback. In that span since 1985, Lance's 4 starts are the fewest for the team that traded for him. 2 first-rounders. You want to include the 3rd? Sure. 4 starts. It's kind of terrible. Now then, did they miss on him? They were ready to start him last year. At this point last year, Trey Lance was the starter come heck or high water, and they were going to go into that season with the ups and the downs. And if Lance was going to falter, that's why they turned to Jimmy Garoppolo, because they sure as heck weren't going to go into the season with Brock Purdy backing him up. And I'll tell you what if Brock Purdy had come in week 2? Do you think it would have been like Tom Brady trotting it in week 2, turning into Brock Purdy? Could have been different. Might have been ready. Did the next 2 months that Purdy got to sit and watch? We'll never know if those months actually helped. And Lance, in his first season, follows through and hits a helmet. In his final preseason game, hurts his finger. He's not the same guy in that year also. And his final season prior to the draft, COVID.
Played one game. Yeah.
But that said, it's a results-oriented business, and this is what Kyle Shanahan had to say after Trey Lance and all the draft choices they used to go get him, and not Justin Fields, and not Mac Jones, who are definitely going to be starters for the teams that drafted them in a couple Sundays. This is what he had to say about Lance being flipped for a 4 to Dallas.
I always feel like I let Trey down. I mean, I wanted him to come here. I believe in Trey. I believed in him before we took him, and I'm responsible for that. I didn't want to throw him into the heat of battle right away, but I thought he needed to play. So we tried to figure out every way to do that. I mean, if I can look back in hindsight, he broke that finger on a helmet on that 4th preseason game versus the Raiders. I wish I didn't put him in a play that had him break his finger, because I think that really hurt him in his first year. And not only did it hurt him not getting able to mix in much, but it hurt him in the practice time because he had to adjust how he threw and things like that, which I think set him back for his second year. When we went into the second year, we gave him every chance to do it. We were going to make an offense that, to me, gave him the best chance to be successful at that time, which we did do. And when you do that, you hope a guy can stay healthy so he can stay out there long enough. But that didn't last long. It was the first game, and after that, I mean, I always felt for him, and we continue to work with him. But sometimes things just don't work out.
Sometimes things just don't work out. That's for a fact. So, do you throw Lance in the category of worst draft trade ever?
You kind of have to. Kind of have to. It's unfortunate. Injury's a part of the game. Bad luck is a part of the game.
Here's what I would say. We need to see how Lance performs from here on out. We need to see if he does get what he deserves, which is an opportunity to start in this league and get the reps before he starts in that league. I don't think he's getting it in Dallas. So for him to say basically, I want out of here, send me to a spot where I'll just be standing with my helmet. It's just a different helmet, and that'll make me feel better. I don't know.
What was the report? He wanted a chance to be the number 2 somewhere.
So maybe he's going to get that chance, and I hope he does. When he came on the show, and he's just like, I earn nothing just by my draft status. I'm going to go earn it on the practice field, and I'll be straight up. Darnold earned it more. That's a fact. That's a fact. And is that Shanahan's fault? He says he's taking responsibility, then I'll take him at his word. He deserves that responsibility, that the kid couldn't, with the opportunities that he did have briefly, stay healthy. And then after that, you know what? I would equate Trey Lance in another regard. I'll throw him in with like Drew Bledsoe. What do I mean by that?
Yeah, Rich, what do you mean by that?
He gets hurt, another kid comes in, and that's all she wrote. That's all she wrote. Doesn't matter you took him to a Super Bowl. Doesn't matter you making $100 million. It's over. Brady was the guy. End of story. I'm not saying Purdy's going to wind up being Brady, but Purdy showed last year he can be the guy. Now, do you say, okay, Trey Lance, we're going to give him this opportunity again? Because, man, that was a bad break on the cart. Mm-hmm. Man, he deserves a better shot than this first year he broke his finger on the helmet. Man, we're going to give him a shot because he was the 3rd overall pick in the draft, and my job is on the line, and I got to prove out for this kid. We're going to start him. I don't care how Purdy finished up last year. You don't lose your job due to injury in this league. Nuh-uh. And I'll just say this, too. Part of the reason why the Niners are allowed to have this leeway with their coach, or the reason why the coach has this leeway with the Niners is a better way to put it, and general manager has this leeway with the Niners. 2 things. 1, the owner loves them, and the owner allows them this leeway. Take your shot. Take your risk. If it doesn't work out, let me see how the rest of it works out. Well, back-to-back NFC Championship game appearances, also removed from a Super Bowl not too long ago. Rest of the team's ready to roll. So you're going to tell your coach and your general manager this better work out with Brock Purdy? I think they get that sense of it. And if it doesn't work out with Purdy, you're going to go with Sam Darnold, who's another 3rd overall selection, who's had a lot of football gods nard kicking since he got drafted. So, yeah, I mean, in terms of the return that the Dolphins got and turned into players, and in terms of the, you can't even call it diminishing returns. There was hardly any return that they got for Lance. It's pretty bad. But you look at the rest of this roster and how it is built and ready to win now, and Brock Purdy, they also drafted and developed him too. You know, it's not like he just dropped out of the sky from another team and they lucked into him. I mean, they were lucky to just say, we'll take him here. Last pick in the draft. Why not? Let's take a flyer. Because he could have just signed as a free agent somewhere else and had them enjoy the fruits of his labor. He might not even have gotten a chance in that other team. He could be just sitting back, which is another reason why Lance should just take a breath and say my time will come. Because it came for Purdy. Let's just say if Purdy didn't get drafted by the Niners, he became an undrafted free agent and he signed somewhere. Do you think he might be playing somewhere? What if he signed as an undrafted free agent with the Chargers, who liked him and just needed to have him around? You know?
Nope.
You know, Easton Stick might need to have his head on a swivel. I'm just saying, again, it's just the vagaries of the NFL. Some get their opportunities, some don't. And some get them late in life and become comeback player of the year because of it, like Geno Smith. So
I got my opportunity late in life.
This is why I'm showing everyone there's more to it than just that's the worst trade ever. These guys need to be thrown to the wolves for it. Now, if Brock Purdy turns into just, the average Joe instead of Joe Montana, second coming, then we might have this conversation a little bit more. And Sam Darnold. Certainly if Mac Jones starts killing it and Justin Fields does what he's doing. But there's a reason why the Niners give this leeway to Shanahan and Lynch. Is there a trophy in the case from it? No. Well, it's tough sometimes. I think more teams than not are going to learn to be playing in the Mahomes era, which is what we are living in right now.
Not easy to win a Super Bowl.
Right. And in between, it was the Brady era in the NFC.
Yep.
So they're placing their bet on Purdy. And Lance, they just did not have confidence in anymore to go for it right now and have him there as the third kid. And he didn't want to be there anymore, it seems. And hopefully he gets his opportunity. I don't know if it's going to be in Dallas. But at least he's in a different spot, which has got to feel good for him, I imagine. And for the Niners, they're putting their bet on Brock Purdy and Sam Darnold as opposed to Lance and Garoppolo. Is that an upgrade? We'll find out. Week 1, Steelers. Let's go. TJ Watt coming for Brock Purdy back in the state of Pennsylvania, hoping to emerge in one piece and with a win. Can't wait. What a storyline entering the season. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.